Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another daily video Devo. I'm filming this, as you can see, on the water. I am on my stand-up paddleboard, which I figure is the closest I'll ever get to walking on water. Speaking of which, there is a famous story in the Bible where the disciples see Jesus walking on water toward them in a storm. And at first, they think he is a ghost. Very reasonable assumption, considering the fact that he is, after all, walking on water. But then they realize that it is Jesus doing his miraculous thing, right? Coming out to rescue them from a storm that they're drowning in. But then Simon Peter, one of the disciples, famously says, "Well, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come out and walk on water too." And in fact, Jesus does do that. And Simon Peter gets out of the boat and begins to walk on the water, but then he looks at the wind and the waves, and freaked out, he begins to sink. And Jesus plunges his hand down into the water, does his lifeguarding thing, and saves Simon Peter. So what does that story teach us? Among many other principles we can draw from that story, one principle is this: when Jesus asks you to do something, he will give you the power to do it, no matter what it is. For some of you, it means recovery from addiction. For others, it means forgiving somebody who hurt you. For others, it means taking the risk of sharing your faith. And it seems impossible, like walking on water level impossible. But if Jesus is asking you to do it, you can do it. Get out of the boat and try it. What do you have to lose? It makes me think of Philippians 4:13, one of the most well-known New Testament verses about this. You might recall that verse. After telling his readers that he's experienced both poverty and affluence, the Apostle Paul writes these well-known words: "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." But what's Paul really saying there? Is Paul just saying, believe in yourself? Or is Paul even saying that Jesus Christ will empower you to do whatever you set your mind to? Well, no. Because in context, just before Paul says, "I can do all things through him who gives me strength," Paul remembers some of the difficult circumstances he's found himself in, some of the storms of life. He's been hungry and he's been well fed. He's been in need and he's been well off. And he says he's learned to be content no matter what his circumstances are. Paul is not bringing up those circumstances to suggest that one is better than the other. He is using those extremes to highlight that he understands all the ups and downs of normal life. And in context, saying, "I can do all things," he's talking about the ministry that God has sent Paul to do. Paul can persevere. Paul can share the gospel in any situation. Paul can be content in any situation, not on his own strength, but through Christ who strengthens him. It's not about his strength of will or strength of character. It's about Jesus and what Jesus enables us to do and what Jesus can enable you to do today. So go into this day with that kind of confidence. I got to tell you, just talking about Peter makes me look forward more than ever to our series on Peter this fall, Flawed Follower. Hope you can join us. More details at flawedfollower.com. Now, I better get out of this fog and find my way home. Have a good day.